Kid News NYC is here with Cindy Lawrence, Executive Director of MoMath. So Cindy, we have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
First of all, did you always like math?
Not always. I remember in second grade, I forgot how to subtract. And I felt really bad about that. And I thought maybe I'm not so good in math. But then my teacher reminded me how to do it, and I moved on. And after that, yes, I always liked math after that.
When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I grew up. I don't think I knew until I got to college what I would do, and I don't think I knew until I got to this museum what I really wanted to do.
And what does the executive director do at the museum?
So the executive director does everything and anything, whatever needs to be done. So I spend a lot of my time making up new ideas for programs, so fun things that maybe you'll come back and explore with us sometime. And I spend some time raising money because we're a not-for-profit that survives by people giving us donations. And I spend time finding people to come and work, and all those people you saw on the floor of the museum with the yellow shirts that might be answering your questions, I have to go find those people. So a lot of different things I have to do.
Okay. So how can kids like me, who don't really like math, learn to like it more, other than, of course, coming to the museum?
Well, coming to the museum is a big step, and I'll tell you why. If you like music, which most of us do, and you decide you want to play a musical instrument, it's not so much fun at first. You go and you take lessons and you have to learn how to read music, which is a bunch of circles and lines on paper. You have to know what that means, and then you have to practice your scales up and down, up and down. That's not so much fun, but you do it because you know that you're going to make beautiful music eventually. Well, math is like that too. You have to do some things in the beginning that maybe aren't so much fun. You have to learn your addition facts and your multiplication tables. But what we present here are some of the really fun things about math. So how did we make a square wheel tricycle that works? How did somebody think of that? Do you know they had to know high-level math to figure that out? So all the things that you see here were designed by people who know a lot about math. And so we want to be like that beautiful song you hear. So you'll go back to school and say, I'm going to learn all of these things that might not be that interesting to me yet, because I want to get to the point where I can understand all the really beautiful, wonderful things about math. So that's why we're glad you're here.
What is your favorite exhibit and why?
My favorite exhibit is one that's called String Product, and it's the one that's on the staircase if you go up and down the stairs. And it's my favorite exhibit because there's some deep math in it. So deep that when we have people who are actually mathematicians, they look at it and they're surprised and they say, I learned something. I never knew that. And then we have people that are in high school and middle school, and they actually know enough math to take out a piece of paper and figure out why it works. And then we get people in maybe third grade or so, and they don't know so much of the math yet, but this exhibit has a lot of multiplication tables in it. And they say, oh, it's a multiplication exhibit. I like that. And then we get 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds who don't even know their times tables, but there are buttons you push and lights come on. And so those little kids push buttons and lights come on and they say, we like it. And so you have a high-level mathematician and a high school and a middle school student and an elementary school student and a toddler all loving the same exhibit for different reasons. That's why it's my favorite.
So how often do exhibits change here?
So in this gallery where we sit right now, this is where we have our changing exhibits. So right now it's an art show, but before this it was an exhibit on mirrors, and we've had lots of different shows. And the next show is going to be an exhibit on shapes and objects and geometry. And on the floor of the museum, we bring in new exhibits sometimes, but we're pretty full, so we don't have a lot of room to bring new things in on a regular basis anymore.
How did you start this museum? If not, how did it start? And if so, how did you get the idea?
So it wasn't my idea. It turns out there was a museum of math that was so tiny that they only opened if you called up and made a reservation. Like you make a reservation to go to a restaurant, you had to call up and tell them that you had at least 10 people, and then they would open. And after a while, that museum shut down, and one of my friends heard that it shut down and said, well, that's a shame. Let's try and reopen a museum, because that was a really great idea to have a math museum. And so I volunteered to help, and I was just a volunteer in the beginning, and that's how the museum got started. And mostly what we did in the beginning was talk to people about how much we loved math, and we found out a lot of people love math. and there was a lot of interest in building a museum that would celebrate math.
So, do you think that the way math is taught in classrooms should be changed?
I think the way math is taught in classrooms is necessary. You have to learn your basic math facts to be able to do any of the cool, exciting stuff. I think what's missing is showing you that there is cool and exciting stuff, and there's not a lot of time to do that in a classroom day. So having a place like MoMath is actually designed for that purpose. So you can go back and be the best student you can be and learn what you need to learn so you can get to the really exciting parts of math, which you won't see for a few years.
Complete the sentence. Kids should visit the National Museum of Mathematics because...
So I'm going to divide that into two sentences. I'm going to say, if you love math, you should visit the National Museum of Mathematics because you're really going to like it here. But if you hate math, you should visit the National Museum of Mathematics because you're actually going to find things you love here.
Well, so what advice do you have for kids like me who have big dreams and goals?
I think the best advice I could give anybody, kid or adult, is follow your dreams and goals. If you can ultimately find something to do in life that makes you happy every day, that's the way to be happy and successful at what you do. Now, math is very important, and some of us love math and think we want to have a career around it, and others of us don't like math as much. But let me tell you something else about math. At its core, math is really about figuring out how to solve problems. And we all need to know how to solve problems. So even if you don't think you're going to go major in math and become a mathematician or a math teacher or any other career that seems to use math, actually we all use math and mathematical reasoning every single day. When you want to buy something in the store, when you want to run some errands and you're trying to figure out, should I go to the bank first and then the grocery store, or the grocery store and then the bank, which direction makes the most sense? You're thinking mathematically, even then.
Awesome advice. Thank you so much for meeting with us. You helped make math fun. Read all about her and MoMath at kidsnewsnyc.com. Bye!